Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A-plus exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with Classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
I'm Doc Rivers, and I'm proud to present a new podcast documentary series called It Was Said Sports, where I guide you through 6 of the most impactful and timeless speeches in sports history. Listen and follow It Was Said Sports, a documentary podcast presentation of Shining City Audio, a C13 Originals, and John Meacham Studio. Available now on Odyssey and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
The Extra Point Show with Sal Capaccio and Sneaky Joe DiBiase on WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, welcome back into the Extra Point Show, hour number 2 on this Thursday. Rolling along, we got an NFL opener tonight. It's Cowboys at Buccaneers. We're going to waste no time to go right back to the West Her Hotline. My good friend down in Tampa, TJ Reeves, Buccaneers sideline reporter. You can follow him on Twitter at Bucs Sideline Guy. Yes, you are on a new show here on WGR. We've talked before, but not only with me, TJ. Welcome and say hello to my co-host, Joe DiBiase. He's a young guy in the business. He's got a great future, but we have to kind of teach him about some things back in our day, if you will.
Well, first of all, it is great to be with you in Western New York. It's great to have football back. It's great that you've got a partner, Sneaky Joe, right?
That's right. He is sneaky.
He is Sneaky Joe. How appropriate that Sal's around a guy named Sneaky, the unelected mayor of Buffalo. And I am privileged because I was told in the build-up on social media and off the air by Franklin that this is the biggest show ever that you guys have had.
Biggest show ever. He's right.
The biggest show ever.
Simultaneously, it is also the third show that you've ever had. So we've outdone the previous 2. So I'm thrilled to be here. I mean, forget about the excitement at Raymond James Stadium tonight. The excitement of being on with the Extra Point Show here for the biggest show ever. I can't contain myself. I'm ready to go.
Well, listen. Okay, so before we do that, let me temper the enthusiasm for a second. I have a bone to pick with you, and I'm going to tell Joe. I told Joe this. He doesn't know what I'm going to say.
I don't know what the bone is.
Okay,
go ahead.
So TJ does Buccaneers sidelines. The Bucs win the Super Bowl, right? And TJ sends me a picture of a Super Bowl ring. He has his daughters, his beautiful twin daughters, literally like wearing the Super Bowl ring and showing it. And I texted him back, Joe. I said, I hate you so much, but I love your daughters. That's what I did. I was so jealous, Joe. I could not believe he was rubbing this in my face.
Oh, my God.
I sent that photo to 571 people, of which you were one. Once again, Sal Capaccio believes that he is the only one involved in these discussions and these situations. So I've sent a fleet of texts and emails. Why not? I mean, the Buccaneers have been a punching bag for so long, and I know you can identify in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bills got good. The Bills got all the way to the AFC Championship game last year, and the Bucs got good with Tom Brady and got it done. So what, as I keep saying to everybody, because everybody keeps saying, oh, well, are you really going to say Super Bowl champion Buccaneers for 2021 every time that we have you on? Yes. You know why? Because when everybody was kicking the crap out of the Buccaneers, let's go to TJ Reeves, the Bucs sideline guy, and talk about when they're firing Raheem Morris or Dirk Cutter or Lovie Smith next. I had to do that for a decade of losing and firing coaches. So I'm not supposed to speak the truth that the defending Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers are hosting the Dallas Cowboys tonight. We're not allowed to have facts on WGR.
You can have facts.
Artifacts like Super Bowl rings.
No, you can have facts.
Good things.
What gets annoying is this whole Tampa Bay business with the Lightning and the Rays, and it gets annoying, pal. Okay,
correct me if I am wrong. Since the Buccaneers Super Bowl win, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who play in the same National Hockey League with the Buffalo Sabres, have won the Stanley Cup a second time. That is correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Ding?
That's right.
Currently, as we speaketh, on September the 9th, 2021, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Major League Baseball team, have the best record in the American League. Check mark? Ding? Yes?
Yes.
That's correct? Yes. So are we not supposed to continue the Tampa Bay theme when the defending champs take the field tonight with the Cowboys when we're still winning championships? The baseball team's got the best record in the American League again. Are we not dealing in facts? I thought we dealt in facts.
Let me just go
on the
back to what I
Extra
said
Point Show.
earlier. I love your daughters. I hate you. I just want you to know that. All right, but I do love you because we're gonna bring this back full circle. I have to ask permission here on this show to you as well before I get into real stuff tonight.
First of all,
I do need permission.
Sneaky Joe's, for this segment, for this part of what he's about to do, is he on his knees groveling yet in the studio? You might need to get down on a knee or on both knees because you're about to have to ask permission for what you want to do now that it's moved to Thursday. Proceed. Explain it.
So when I was living in Florida years ago, I used to listen to this radio segment called Three Dog Thursday. And Chris Thomas, a great radio host there, did it. And I know TJ Reeves did it. And you can tell me you guys shared it, he got it from you, whatever. But I heard this segment. I thought, that's a really cool segment. I'm going to do something like that someday. So when I came to Buffalo and went on WGR, I was on Saturdays. So I said, I'm going to call it Three Dog Saturday. And I talked with TJ about it, and TJ actually has branded the actual concept and the title Three Dog Thursday. You do a podcast every week called Three Dog Thursday. TJ,
that's correct.
I want to bring back Three Dog Saturday, but I want to call it Three Dog Thursday on WGR. Do I have your permission to steal the name on WGR every Thursday for Three Dog Thursday?
This is a very big moment on the biggest show ever here on the Extra Point, because right now I am franchising Three Dog Thursday, apparently, not unlike McDonald's, not unlike Subway, whatever the case is. The show has been in existence for 7 years. You have been a guest on the show.
I have been, yes.
For 7 years.
Yes.
So I am going to let you there on the mighty WGR borrow Three Dog Thursday, as long as you somewhat frequently, maybe occasionally mention it is a larger podcast and show. You don't have to use the words ripped off, even though that's what you're doing. But it is part of a larger thing, Three Dog Thursday with the Underdogs. I've been doing that on the radio, by the way, since 1993.
Yes, it's amazing.
You heard me back in the 90s.
I did.
Doing that segment 28 years ago, the last time the Bills were in the Super Bowl over and over and over again. You heard me doing that. That's how old I am. So, yes, you have my blessing. You have the franchisee license. Just occasionally mention that there is a Three Dog Thursday podcast and where they can find it and that kind of stuff. I harken back because I've been waiting to have this conversation with you on WGR. Mark Cuban has the best line about this that I've ever heard. He was on one of those episodes of Shark Tank that are always on the reruns on CNBC in the summer, and he said there are two times when you realize you've really had success. The first one is when everybody knows who you are and you are making money. That's when you really know that you have had success in whatever business and whatever it is. And the second time you know, Sneaky Joe, pay attention. Franklin, pay attention. The second time you know is when somebody wants to steal your idea and rip off your name and call it their own. And that is what Sal Capaccio is asking to be able to do. And I give you my blessing, my friend.
And I promise I will absolutely do that. And I'll even retweet some of your podcasts, and I'll be a guest on your podcast as well. TJ Reeves joining me.
It's all good.
And joining us here on the West Her Hotline. Cowboys, Buccaneers tonight. He'll be on the sidelines for the Buccaneers. All right, let's talk football. How many radio hits do you have today, and what is it like in Tampa Bay?
This is the second one. There are going to be 3 other ones before the game, and I am booked in 3 places nationally tonight after the game. So the total, besides my talking on the Buccaneers pregame and during the game and after the game, my total is, I believe, 6 or 7 at the moment. And I had to try to limit that. And I'm sure there'll be a couple of more that want to try to, call me. At least Sal had the good sense to say, hey, earlier in the week, late last week, can I get you on Thursday game day? I said, absolutely. Absolutely for you. I am here. It's a huge moment. Remember when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl 18 years ago, they didn't get to open at home. The NFL didn't have this Thursday night and the home opener. The Bucs opened on the road at Philadelphia, where they had closed down Veterans Stadium in the NFC Championship game the previous year, and then they opened up Lincoln Financial Field, or whatever they call that place now, and beat the Eagles again in the opener. So this is new. This is a home opener for the Super Bowl, so we're all amped. We're all excited, and I have no problem here or wherever else I can squeeze it in to talk about it before it happens. We've been talking about it, Sal, for 5 months leading up to this game. Now the game is finally here tonight.
Yeah, let me take you back, TJ, to that decision, like to have it be the Cowboys in the first place, because we have had months to build up to this, and now that we're here, this is the Buccaneers are the biggest favorite on the weekend. It's the biggest spread at -9.5, and I wonder if you look back and think, was Dallas the right choice? Because a lot of people think this game could be a blowout tonight.
Here's the thing, and Sal knows this, and for the audience, the Dallas Cowboys bring about 5 million extra eyeballs whenever they play. That's why they're always in the late window on CBS or Fox. That's why they're in the full allotment of primetime Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night games. I mean, literally, it's like rolling over the last 15 years. The top 10 regular season NFL broadcasts all involve the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of the time it's Thanksgiving. A lot of the time it is a Sunday night or a Monday night game and not just a Sunday afternoon game. So that just was a natural because the way the schedule worked out, the Bucs were going to be playing the Cowboys as one of the home opponents. I honestly believed, and the Minister of Defense there, Capaccio, and I, we were talking in the offseason that the backup plan might have been the Buffalo game, might have been Buffalo tonight on opening night as the second biggest marquee team that might be coming in here. They saved that one for late December. CBS is supposed to televise it, and they will probably protect it because that'll be Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, et cetera, all things being equal. But I could see that one potentially possibly being flexed to a Sunday night, too, depending on what happens. But, yeah, the Cowboys just seem like a natural, guys, for tonight.
Yeah, and tonight, as far as the game goes, I would say, most people are expecting the Buccaneers to win. I've seen a few people pick the Cowboys, but one of the reasons is a rarity. Now, we talk about the continuity the Bills have and everybody coming back, but TJ, I've never seen this before, and I don't think it's ever happened. All 22 starters returning from a Super Bowl champion.
You are correct. In the free agency era, it has never happened before. This is why this is the biggest show ever, even though it's only the third show, is because you're dispensing knowledge that is absolutely truthful and correct, that since the free agency era of the NFL, no team's ever brought back all 22 starters, both sides of the ball, because sooner or later somebody takes more money to go somewhere else and a better deal in that offseason after the Super Bowl year. That didn't happen here. So they bring back all 22 guys, and yes, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, and Ndamukong Suh all signed for less money because they wanted to be back here with a chance to win another ring, go back-to-back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But still, it is amazing continuity. Bruce Arians kept all of his assistant coaches, his coordinators intact, so you have continuity here, and it does line up for the potential to be a special season. Now, that being said, I'm not trying to be a downer. For the people in this area, I have been saying this. You start this year at no wins, no losses, and the scoreboard doesn't start tonight up 21-0 on the Cowboys because you won the Super Bowl. So you've still got to go out and get this done. And who knows how old Tom Brady at 44, how long his arm, his shoulder, his elbow holds up. We believe that it will. But there's no guarantee as we go through this season that he will be perfectly healthy and intact. Sooner or later, Father Time catches up with all of us. So let's hope that he stays healthy for the Bucs' sake, but that's an unknown. But for right now, tons of excitement on what this team can do, potentially starting with tonight.
Yeah, on Brady, is there any sign that there is that deterioration coming like we've seen with Roethlisberger and Rivers and Breeze? Because I think, TJ, one trend those guys have had is later stages of their careers, they are not pushing the ball down the field nearly as much as they had because they just don't have the arm strength. Brady led the league in pass attempts of 25-plus yards last year. He led the league in air yards. Like, I don't know. I don't see a sign that he is slowing down because he's still pushing the ball down the field.
Great point and a great stat, and I watched him at training camp a couple of times, including the practice with the Titans, making the throws, and it looks like the same Tom Brady, and then we've seen him in these preseason games. I mean, you go back and watch the Houston first quarter in the final preseason game where Bruce Arians said, hey, we're going to do this as a dress rehearsal for a couple of series with the starters and get them some work because there's going to be 2 weeks before now in the Cowboys game. That's what they chose to do. And Brady was airing it out in that game and throwing the ball on a rope, 25-yard out route, throwing the ball long. So who knows how long that lasts, Joe? I don't know how long that can last for this year, but right now, as we begin the year, he looks like a 34-year-old Tom Brady with being able to sling it.
Another stat for you, someone else had this, and we brought it up yesterday here on WGR. I don't know how many years it goes back. Maybe Joe can help me out here, but for many, many years, one of the championship round teams, one of the teams that got to the Final Four the previous year, TJ, failed to make the playoffs. It's like a streak that's been going on for like 20 years or something. So that's the Bucs and Packers. That's the Bills and Chiefs. If you had to pick one team out of that group who actually misses the playoffs this year, because it's happened every year for the last decade, 2 decades maybe, who would it be?
I'm going Green Bay Packers. I'm not raining on your Buffalo Bills parade. I think the Packers are on shaky ground. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is no secret. It's no nuclear secret here. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be there anymore. Mm-hmm. And if that starts to go bad, I think they would be your team that could go south. The question becomes who in that division out of Minnesota probably or Chicago, but Chicago's going to have the new quarterback, Justin Fields, who can rise up to overtake them and knock them out of the playoffs or knock them out of a playoff situation. But if you're putting it to me, Kansas City is a lock to win the West and be in the playoffs. Now, do they go to the Super Bowl again? Who knows? I think you guys are in great shape in Buffalo to win the East, if not at least be a wild card team. So I'm not taking that. What am I supposed to say on WGR? The Bucs are missing the playoffs? No, that's not happening. So now that leaves us with Green Bay. There you go.
By the way, to update on a couple things, 96, by the way, is the last time that a team
that everybody made it?
Yes.
That's incredible. Think about that, TJ. Since 1996, at least one of these four teams has missed the playoffs the following year. That's incredible to me.
Yes, that is a stat and a half, 25 years and counting. Well, for the longest time, the NFC South used to be the screwed-up division where for over a decade, the team that finished first in the division, like in the early 2000s and the mid-2010s, finished last the next year. Not second or third.
That's right.
The team that won the division finished last the following year. So nobody can figure that out either, and it was spread around. It wasn't just one or two of the teams that were first and then last. It was all four of them, including going to the Super Bowl for the Saints, for the Panthers, for the Buccaneers, for the Falcons, and then you'd end up finishing last, like the next year. It's crazy.
So, and then one other thing to update, by the way, the Buccaneers are no longer the biggest favorite on the weekend. There's been movement on that line. They're -8 now over the Cowboys, and the Rams are -9 on Sunday night. We mentioned 22 returning starters, and in our fantasy segment last hour, I was mentioning Giovanni Bernard as a potential addition as like maybe Tom Brady's new James White. I don't know, like is it, in their backfield, what does that look like this year? Because they've got four guys really that I feel like are all competing for playing time. And I don't know, for me it'd be throw a dart, but I don't know if you have any more insight as to what it's going to look like.
It's a tough call because they want to get the ball to Bernard on third down, kind of the security blanket, the check down, whatever. Sal and I go back to football in the 70s and the 80s. It was the safety valve, right, Sal? They want to go to the safety valve is what you always called it. But he wants that, like what you're mentioning with what James White was or what Rex Burkhead kind of became out of the backfield in New England that you guys saw over and over again. Fournette was that guy in the postseason last year because he's a better pass catcher than Ronald Jones, and Ronald Jones also had a broken finger in the postseason last year that hurt him some on catching the ball. So now the competition becomes, can Bernard be on the field more than just third down? Or is this Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette for the first couple of downs and sometimes third down, and sometimes Giovanni Bernard gets out there? And the young player you're mentioning is Keyshawn Vaughn, who they like, who is a pass catcher as well, second-year player, kind of built out of the same mold as Bernard. He's just younger. So you can't run the wishbone. They're not going to be all out there together, and we believe it will be Ronald Jones starting this game tonight, but you'll see Leonard Fournette as well in the first half as a two-headed monster, and sometimes Bernard on third down. For fantasy purposes, you almost have to stay away from the Buccaneer running backs until the later rounds because you just don't know who's going to get the ball enough, who's going to get the ball around the goal line enough to count on one of them out of Jones or Fournette particularly.
All right, buddy, listen, enjoy it tonight, really. I mean, it's going to be a great scene. It's great to have fans back around the country. Yeah. You know, I'm experiencing that here, obviously, on the sidelines for the Bills on Sunday for sure. You and your Super Bowl ring, you can take it with you and whatever you got to do with it. Now, look, we have the game here on our station tonight. It's unfortunately not your local feed. It's Westwood 1, but if people want to listen, you'll be on the sidelines on the Buccaneers Radio Network. There's a lot of ways to do that as well. And when we see each other, I'm not kissing the Super Bowl ring on, what is that, December, what day is it, the 19th, December 12th? I'm not going to do that, but I will admire it. I will admire it for sure.
All right, so I will look forward to that. There's a lot of football between now and then. If you need me back on here
yes,
for another greatest show ever, feel free on the Extra Point to do that. You have my blessing for Three Dog Thursday, so you're all good there. Go get your picks in, and the Three Dog Thursday podcast, by the way, is up. It's out with predictions, including stay away from the Cowboys as the underdog tonight, kids.
You like the favorite?
The Bucs rocking and rolling. There's your free advice.
Absolutely. Hey, TJ, be good. Say hi to your lovely family for us, and thanks a lot for doing this, and we'll catch up, buddy.
Boys behave. Good to be with you. Go Bucks. See
All
you
right,
later.
thank you very much.
Thanks,
TJ
TJ.
Reeves, Buccaneers sideline reporter, right there. And you can follow him on Twitter at Bucks Sideline Guy. We just had someone tweet us and said, Bucks Sideline Guy needs to be a recurring character on your show. He is a character.
He is like one of those characters that shows up like a couple times a season, maybe not every episode, but
I really think I had to hate like his text to me when he showed me the, like I had to hate like it. You know what I mean?
Is that a thing? Well, is there a dislike button? There's like a thumbs
No,
down.
I wouldn't do that. Right?
The thumbs down
I couldn't
emoji?
do that. Like he's so proud and it's cool and like that opportunity, right? But I'm like, oh come on, like really, like getting a Super Bowl ring. It's my buddy over here. He's got this Super Bowl ring now to flash in front of me.
If he brings it too, I don't think you can even you can't hold it or anything. I think that's
And then he
like
had to play
sacrilegious.
and then he had to play the oh look at my beautiful twin daughters wearing it card, and I'm like, how can I hate that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
right.
I don't. Tampa's fine. They're not Boston. You know, they're not one of these teams that they're becoming that maybe as like this city that always wins. But you know, it could be worse for me. Like Boston really would be the one that would be worse. Like anytime they win, like I just don't have any time for it. Tampa, right? They've been down in the dumps. They've gone through what we've gone through. So this will probably be the extent of me feeling good for them. If they win it again, that's not going to be the same feeling inside me. But
I remember
they're fine.
living down there when they won their first Super Bowl in 2002. And then I remember when the Lightning won their first Stanley Cup, 2003, 2004, right there. In that time, it was unbearable because I came from this place that had been chasing and never won. And Tampa's like a newer sports city back then. Like the Bucks just came in the late 70s. They'd only been around for 25 years when they had won their first Super Bowl, right? I mean that's enough time, but the Lightning were pretty new as well. They just came in the 90s.
I'd want to expect that if that happened here, we would also be unbearable.
Oh, yeah.
Deservedly so. But I think we would also be unbearable. But maybe that happens everywhere.
Speaking of that, I actually have my NFL predictions up at WGR550.com. We'll talk about that later as we head on out of the show. But first, before we do that, and when I say speaking of that, I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I did. You can find it. It's right there. And I'm making no apologies for it because they're good enough to do it. But as Joe said, that would be pretty amazing and unbearable maybe. The way I put it is they're billing this season, Joe, as the biggest season ever in the NFL. That's the motto. That's the marketing slogan. And I say the biggest season ever would be the greatest celebration we've ever seen in Buffalo in the history of this city for anything that's ever happened, I think.
Right. And when I say unbearable, I do not mean for us or for Buffalo. I mean for like,
outside to listen to us.
Outsiders.
And
Like,
the fans.
because we're going to rub it in your face if that happens.
No doubt. TJ gave his blessings. He has created and he has a show called, the podcast called 3 Dog Thursday. But I'm going to use that title. We're going to do it next. I'm going to give you 3 NFL underdogs for this weekend that I like best. Next.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
I'm Doc Rivers, and I'm proud to present a new podcast documentary series called It Was Said Sports, where I guide you through 6 of the most impactful and timeless speeches in sports history. Listen and follow It Was Said Sports, a documentary podcast presentation of Shining City Audio, a C13 Originals, and John Meacham Studio. Available now on Odyssey and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
How is your mental health? Billie Eilish, Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Imagine Dragons, Lil Nas X, and so many more feel the same pressures we do. They're joining our host, Carson Daly, for I'm Listening, September 23rd, starting at 6 p.m. right here. Carson and a cast of mental health experts, athletes, musicians, other notables, and you will share stories, insights, and help us all remember that we are not alone. Please join us, because talking about our mental health has the power to save lives. For more, visit imlistening.org.
This month on the 11th, writer Hanif Abdurraqib travels back to the summer of 1996 and revisits the album that carried him through a period of intense change.
The third track on the album is one that sends me back to that summer perhaps quicker than any other.
Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find you and and take it slowly.
That's this month on the 11th, a new podcast from Pineapple Street Studios.
In week one, I'm less concerned about the people that we play from that perspective, and I'm more concerned about our quality of play, our preparedness, our cohesion, our communication. It's about what we do, with all due respect to those guys in their front.
That is Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin meeting with the Buffalo media yesterday as part of what we call Media Day. It's Media Day when you get the other team's head coach, you get your head coach, you get more players. That happens typically on Wednesdays, sometimes because of situations. They may have it on other days throughout the week. Tomlin also met with the Pittsburgh media earlier in the week on Tuesday, I think it was, and I listened, and Joe, he was really good. I think Mike Tomlin is very good with the media. He gives you some really good stuff to go with that you could talk about, some good talking points.
Always comes with energy, too. Mike Tomlin
Speaking
does.
of energy, are you ready for the inaugural edition of Three Dog Thursday here on WGR? It's always been Three Dog Saturday.
I've been waiting all morning.
Here we go. You ready? Oh, wait, stop it again. We got to play it. We got to play it and hit the bed. You ready? I want you to hit it hard because I want people to hear the bed for the intro, not the intro, the music we're going to play for Three Dog Thursday, my best three underdogs. And by the way, Joe, let's just have to remember, I'm limited in who I can choose here. I can only choose underdogs.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I can't just take any team on the board. So here are my best three underdogs of the week. All right, here we go. I'm going to start off here. The New York Giants are at home getting 3 points against the Denver Broncos. I showed a lot of Broncos love here yesterday. I'm not going to shy away from that. I think the Broncos are a good team. I think they have a good roster. I like Teddy Bridgewater. They're also going on the road to play a New York Giants team that looks like it's going to have Saquon Barkley back, that really needs a big year from Daniel Jones. I'm not super high on the New York Giants, but they're one of the teams I could see finishing around the 500 mark. But here's the problem with this particular game. Joe, this is a low-scoring game to me. And when you have a low-scoring game, opening week, fans back in the stands, on the road, I'm not going to take the favorite. I'm going to take the underdog if the underdog's at home and getting 3 points. That's a big field goal. I think the Broncos could very well win this game. This is a 1 or 2 point game to me, so I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the New York Giants at home against the Denver Broncos. Here's one that many people will think, you're nuts, Sal, when you hear what I'm taking, and I'll tell you why. I'm taking the woeful Houston Texans at home getting 3 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look,
wow,
both these teams are going to stink. They're not going to be good. They're going to be at the bottom of the AFC South. The Texans are going to be in the running for the top pick in next year's draft. Some people may even say that they are tanking. I don't know if that's the case, but I think they know they're not going to be very good. But let's look at the Jacksonville Jaguars for a second. This is not a good football team. They are having a lot of internal strife and a lot of issues, if you will, with their head coach, Urban Meyer. People are complaining about the way he runs practices. He's already been in trouble for a lot of things. They seem like they're a mess right now in Jacksonville. And oh, by the way, as good as a career as Trevor Lawrence may have, he's a rookie starting on the road in his first game in the National Football League. And he's going against Tyrod Taylor, who can win games in this league. I don't think the Texans are going to win many games. I don't think the Jags are going to win many games. But I think the Texans win this one. I think they win the game outright, Joe. But I'll take them getting the 3 points at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And finally, I'm going to go to Monday night here, actually. You know, the Las Vegas Raiders are kind of front runners under John Gruden. When they're good, they're pretty good. When they're bad, they're pretty bad. They're at home, opening their new stadium, if you will, with fans. They played last year. They had no fans in the stadium. Remember, the Bills played there last year. They're getting 4.5 points against the Baltimore Ravens team that is not going to take an ascension this year. And in fact, I think they take a step back. Lamar Jackson missed time during camp and preseason because of COVID issues. They lost J.K. Dobbins as their number one running back. They're going with Gus Edwards. They lost key pieces on their defense. They're still going to be well coached, but they're going into what I would say a very hostile black hole environment, and they're giving up 4.5 points. I'm going to take the Raiders here because I'm getting 4.5 points in a game that I think the Raiders are going to be absolutely jacked up for in their stadium with their fans around. And I'm going to take the Raiders to get 4.5 points at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Texans +3 against the Jags. Giants +3 against the Broncos. Raiders +4.5 against the Ravens. There's a theme here. They are all home underdogs.
The only one I would say I'm okay with the other two. In fact, I love the Giants pick at home. I think those, but the over/under you hit 41.5. It's the lowest total in the league.
Why not take points if you're going to have you're a home dog in a low-scoring game? Why not take the points? It's just smart.
I think of the two teams as being pretty similar. I like the rosters overall, and I have severe questions about the quarterbacks. Daniel Jones more so than Bridgewater, but Bridgewater's not a very high bar to clear in the first place.
Right.
I can't get there on the Raiders. I think the Ravens, while they lost pieces, I still feel pretty confident in still getting that great rushing offense, that great defense, the great coaching from Harbaugh. I don't love what they did with the weapons this year, so while I think their ascension needed to come in the passing game, I don't think that's going to happen, especially to start the year. But when they're playing the Raiders, who blew up their offensive line this offseason, they got rid of even a couple of veterans on the defensive side of the football. Carl Joseph, the safety, is the first name that comes to mind for me. I have this inclination that John Gruden and Mike Mayock just do not know what they are doing. They're drafting guys like Alex Leatherwood in the first round that most people don't have until the second round. Last year they did the same thing with Henry Ruggs, who everyone has the third wide receiver in the draft. They took him first. They're doing these weird things with player evaluation. They're spending big money on a backup running back and Kenyon Drake. Maybe it's more so for me about the front office and the coach that Vegas currently has, and less so about especially the quarterback, because I think Derek Carr sometimes is even underrated. That would be the only one that I would really disagree with you on. And it's more about the Raiders for me than it is for the Ravens. Not big on the Raiders. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams.
I
in the
don't
league,
disagree.
maybe.
It's a one-game thing, though, where I think, dude, they're at home in that crowd, in that environment, welcoming the black hole really for the first time. And I think they're just front runners. The Raiders are front runners. When they're good under Gruden, they're good. They do some nice things. Yeah. When they're bad, they're bad. They remind me a lot of Rex Ryan coach teams, actually, which is they play on so much emotion. There's so much variance.
Good comparison.
Right? There's so much variance. It's totally the opposite of Sean McDermott. Consistency. Consistency. You just never know what you're getting from the Raiders.
They beat the Chiefs last year, right? And didn't they take them down the stretch in their second game against Kansas City? I know for a long time last year they were the only team that had beat Kansas City. So that's point is valid that when they're at their best, they are definitely better than a lot of the teams that they usually end up finishing in around the standings. And then, so Houston, I don't know about. I think the roster on paper is one of the worst maybe we've ever seen. I'm a big Tyrod guy. I'm a Tyrod defender during his time here in Buffalo, but I don't know what that's going to look like when he plays in an offense and on a team like he's about to play on. Because one thing Tyrod's always played in Buffalo, and even in the limited action he got in Cleveland and in LA, he's had run-heavy teams that are good on defense. He really has not had to take chances with the football because he can trust what's around him, and I think he's smart enough to know there are a million throws in the field he just cannot make. But not turning the football over has been enough for him, and he's been able to win games only attempting 25, 30 passes a game. What does Tyrod look like when the team is so bad around him that he's got to start throwing the football 40 times a game? What does Tyrod look like in a pass-heavy offense? I'm not sure the Texans want that, but I think inevitably what's going to happen this year is they're going to have to throw the football to get themselves into games. And I have no idea what Tyrod's going to look like in an offense like that. I can't imagine it's going to go great.
We have to have more of a conversation on Tyrod as he gets closer here coming to Buffalo, but you're right. I mean, look, he did some nice things. We know he can win some games. He's got to have everything right around him. That's the way for Tyrod, he can't carry a team, right?
Exactly.
He's going against the Jaguars. I mean, I don't think their defense is going to be good, but this is a point mainly about the Jags for me. Trevor Lawrence might be great. He's going on the road to start his NFL career, and it's on a team that's had a lot of strife for the first few months, actually, in Urban Meyer. I don't know what to think or expect from them, which isn't much, by the way.
Yeah. The only thing that's holding me up on the Jaguars is I like their passing game. Well, I like the personnel they have in their passing game. I shouldn't say I like their passing game because I think Urban Meyer's doing some weird things with it.
Yes.
Like he had Travis Etienne playing wide receiver, the same role Laviska Shenault was playing that had a pretty good rookie season for them. Some of his schemes that have been coming out seem to be a little strange. He had Tebow playing tight end in the preseason. Yeah, I have major questions about the coach there. So right. I don't mind betting against Urban Meyer.
At least week one. Week one's always difficult, but I took 3 home underdogs for my first 3-Dog Thursday segment of the season. Texans, Giants, and Las Vegas Raiders. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll touch real quickly on my NFL predictions and see if Joe agrees or disagrees with the division winners I have, the wild card, and the eventual Super Bowl champion, including maybe award winners that I put out as well.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
How is your mental health? Billie Eilish, Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Imagine Dragons, Lil Nas X, and so many more feel the same pressures we do. They're joining our host, Carson Daly, for I'm Listening, September 23rd, starting at 6 p.m. right here. Carson and a cast of mental health experts, athletes, musicians, other notables, and you will share stories, insights, and help us all remember that we are not alone. Please join us, because talking about our mental health has the power to save lives. For more, visit imlistening.org.
I'm Doc Rivers, and I'm proud to present a new podcast documentary series called It Was Said Sports, where I guide you through 6 of the most impactful and timeless speeches in sports history. Listen and follow It Was Said Sports, a documentary podcast presentation of Shining City Audio, a C13 Originals, and John Meacham Studio. Available now on Odyssey and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
This month on the 11th, writer Hanif Abdurraqib travels back to the summer of 1996 and revisits the album that carried him through a period of intense change.
The third track on the album is one that sends me back to that summer perhaps quicker than any other.
Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly.
That's this month on the 11th, a new podcast from Pineapple Street Studios.
Really doesn't. I mean, look, he's going to have to do a good job of handling the football and playing that part of the game for us, and whatever role we see fit for him for that particular week, we'll use. He's a guy that works hard. He'll be in shape, and whether that's a smaller role, the bigger role, I think that's determined by the opponent that we play and what we think we can use.
That's Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll talking about wide receiver, punt and kick returner Isaiah McKenzie, who is on the injury report this week. Just so everybody knows, the Bills are off today. They do not have practice, but there will be an injury report, and it usually in that situation is an estimated injury report on if they were actually practicing. So that's how it's going to work. Joe, we haven't told everybody our big news. Big news that tomorrow we're going to talk to Sean McDermott right here, Buffalo Bills head coach. Tomorrow, right around 10:30, we're going to talk to him and ask him about injuries, the season, all that kind of stuff.
Biggest show ever.
Biggest show ever tomorrow. Biggest show ever tomorrow. Bills head coach Sean McDermott will join us at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow to talk about this season. I have the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl. It's on record. First time I've ever done it, Joe. Last year I had them going to Kansas City and losing in the AFC Championship game. They did. I also had some wrong predictions, but I had a good feel for this team on where they were going. I think they're good enough to win it. I have them winning it. I have my predictions at WGR550.com. I have Josh Allen winning the league MVP. Anything you see on my predictions that you totally disagree with?
No, I like Bills-Rams in the Super Bowl. That's exactly what I would have. I'm not sure who I'd pick to win it, though.
Okay.
So
I get it.
I agree with them both being in it. I'm trying, again, I said this the other day, that I'm almost trying to find a reason not to pick the Bills as to not come off bias. But I think,
totally
again,
get it.
There's enough logical reasons to actually pick them. So I have no problem there. Love Rams over Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game. Bills over Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I think really the only nitpicky things that I would go through would be not having the Ravens in the playoffs in the AFC. I know we went back and forth on them a couple of days ago. I think I'd have
Tough one
Baltimore
for me.
in over Indy.
The debate for me was New England and Baltimore.
New England and Baltimore.
And I had New England in.
To me, it would be Indy and Baltimore.
And I also debated Denver, who I like, but I couldn't have three teams from the West. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And then, speaking of three teams from one division, NFC, I think there's going to be three teams from the NFC West.
Okay.
I would say it's going to be San Francisco, but if it was Arizona instead, I could see that too.
What about awards? Anything you don't like? Anything you really like? Offensive, defensive player of the year?
I would just say offensive rookie of the year. It would be between Lawrence and Mac Jones for me.
And I have Lawrence there. I have Myles Garrett as the defensive player of the year, defensive rookie. Jamin Davis of Washington. I think that he's the new Kuechly for them, basically, right? I think how for Ron Rivera.
Right.
You know what I mean? For how he's going to use him. All right, biggest show ever tomorrow. Sean McDermott joins us at 10:30. We got your Friday football covered. Football Friday right here on WGR tomorrow. The Extra Point will return. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, Sal Capaccio here. We'll do it once again as we do every single weekday. And if you want to read those NFL predictions I gave you with the Bills winning the Super Bowl, check out WGR550.com.
I'm Doc Rivers, and I'm proud to present a new podcast documentary series called It Was Said Sports, where I guide you through 6 of the most impactful and timeless speeches in sports history. Listen and follow It Was Said Sports, a documentary podcast presentation of Shining City Audio, a C13 Originals, and John Meacham Studio. Available now on Odyssey and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Odyssey's going back to school, and we've got all the supplies you need, like A+ exclusive music stations and podcasts to help you or your student excel. Wake up and get the school day started with Acoustic Sunrise, the best mix of acoustic pop. Hit the books with Classical Odyssey, passionate classical music to help you focus while you study. Listen to essential school podcasts like Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, and be inspired with TED Talks Daily. Get back to school with new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts on Odyssey.
This month on the 11th, writer Hanif Abdurraqib travels back to the summer of 1996 and revisits the album that carried him through a period of intense change.
The third track on the album is one that sends me back to that summer perhaps quicker than any other.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly.
That's this month on the 11th, a new podcast from Pineapple Street Studios.